What's so special about these rocks, you're asking? Found in a dry lake bed called Racetrack Playa, they move along the desert ground with no gravitational cause. Interestingly, people have never actually seen them move in real time. However, due to the trails left behind and the changes in their location, it's clear that they do, which I find incredibly spooky. Scientists believe that they have found some explanation for why the rocks move the way that they do, a result of the perfect balance of ice and water and wind. However, some people believe that Death Valley and the rocks hold a lot more secrets than we know about. After you pay a visit to the stones yourself, you can come up with your own theory about this. The next one is Bolton Strid, Yorkshire, England. You might find this one a little bit creepier than the sailing stones due to its history. The creek is actually a deadly waterway that has managed to drag down everyone who has ever set foot in it. At first glance, Bolton Strid looks just like the picturesque regular creek that you'd see on a postcard. However, under the surface lies the danger that has already claimed the lives of many. The reason this creek is special is that the waters change orientation. Instead of flowing in a wide horizontal course, the waters begin to flow vertically in the tight shaft created by natural rock. That leads to a deep and powerful current, which eventually creates a void where people and other things can become trapped. The area is popular for hiking and walks, but it's also full of warning signs to be careful near the water. The next one is Spotted Lake, British Columbia, Canada. Now, during the winter and springtime, Spotted Lake looks no different than any other body of water. However, as soon as most of the water evaporates in the summer, tons of huge pools show up, leaving a landscape that is full of yellow, blue, and green spots in polka dot shapes. Spotted Lake has been considered a sacred place for many centuries by the indigenous people of the Okanagan Nation. The indigenous people had the belief that each of the different circles had a different healing and medicinal property. The history of the lake is complex. During World War I, minerals from the lake were taken and used to produce ammunition. It's a stunning but potentially dangerous sight. This potent greenhouse gas not only warms the planet, but it's highly flammable. Come spring, when the ice melts, the methane bubbles pop and fizz in a spectacular release. But if anyone happens to light a match nearby, the masses of methane will ignite into a giant explosion. Curious travelers can see these gassy hiccups in lakes across Canada's Banff National Park or in the Arctic Ocean off Siberia, where researchers have found gargantuan gas bubbles as large as 900 meters across. Who knows what else mythical lies in the Spotted Lake? Got any theories of your own? Next is Taylor Glacier, or what is called Blood Falls, Antarctica. Antarctica's so-called Blood Falls might look like a geological crime scene. The 5-story Crimson Waterfall of Taylor Glacier is a complete natural wonder. The phenomenon can be traced back about 5 million years, when the glacier sealed off a microbe-rich salt and iron content. The water's saltiny, a level about 3 times saltier than the ocean, keeps it from freezing, while the iron provides the color. It then seeps out through a fissure in the glacier, and we get to witness the gory display. The red-brown falls are named for their unusual color, but what they're actually made of and why the water flows even though the temperature is so cold has been a mystery for a very long time. The next one is the Gates of Hell in Turkmenistan. Burning since 1971, this fiery crater near the small village of Darvaza looks like something out of an apocalyptic movie. The 230-foot hole has been on fire for more than 40 years. The Gates of Hell crater came to be when the Soviet scientists accidentally punched into a massive underground natural gas cavern. This caused the ground to collapse and the entire drilling rig to fall in. Due to the puncturing of a bucket of gas, poisonous fumes began leaking at an alarming rate. The scientists decided to light the crater on fire to burn off the methane, creating an anomaly that remains lit to this day. Despite how dangerous it looks, people are not very afraid of this location. The fiery pit is regularly visited by hikers and travelers who venture near it. The next is the Catatumbo lightning in Venezuela. Now, the Earth hosts a number of amazing storm systems, and one of the most impressive, the Catatumbo, sends out some 1,176,000 lightning discharges per year. Many nights, over 40,000 bolts spread across the night sky. This phenomenon happens some 300 nights a year and continues for 9 hours at a time. This is known as the Catatumbo lightning. In order to see it, you will need to head to the mouth of the Catatumbo River at the Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela. Lightning is known to change its frequency throughout the year, and it is different each year. For example, it disappeared from January to March of 2010, likely due to drought, leading to the unfounded speculation it might have been extinguished permanently. If a light show is your cup of tea, then you know where to go, and it is my cup of tea. Red crab migration, Christmas Island, Australia. Emerging from the forest every year, millions of these large crabs can be seen walking toward the ocean in hopes of breeding. On the way, they swarm across roads, streams, rocks, and beaches. The migration, typically late fall or early winter, is usually led by the male crabs, while the females walk behind them. A bit like werewolves, their speed is actually determined by the phase of the moon. The red crab migration is Christmas Island's biggest tourist attraction, attracting nature lovers from all over the world. Don't worry about missing them. The local news provides updates on their movements during migration. The Great Blue Hole in Belize. Even though it seems like the kind of place that can suck you into the core of the earth, the Great Blue Hole is incredibly beautiful to look at. It's not only a top attraction that attracts many tourists each year, it's also home to many nurse sharks, reef sharks, blacktip sharks, and giant groupers. The Great Blue Hole is a giant marine sinkhole off of the Belize coast that measures 318 meters across, or 1,043 feet, and 407 feet deep. 124 meters, 407 feet. Scientists found that the hole was formed during very Jacques Cousteau, or Jacques Cousteau, a legendary marine biologist. Experienced divers can find a lot of beauty and a lot to engage in when diving the wonder. The next is one of the newer things that I found, the Taos hum. Some residents and visitors in the small city of Taos, New Mexico have for years been annoyed and puzzled by a mysterious and faint low-frequency hum in the desert air. Oddly, about 2% of Taos residents report hearing the sound. Some believe it is caused by unusual acoustics, and others suspect mass hysteria or some secret sinister purpose. Whether it's described as a whir or a hum or a buzz, whether the psychological, natural, or supernatural, no one has yet to be able to locate the origin of the sound. And the thing is, a survey reveals that those who claim to hear the sounds actually hear many different sounds, which kind of suggests that the experience may be subjective and not objective, and certainly not one particular sound. The next one is Kawah Iljen Lake, Indonesia. Travelers flock to the Indonesian island of Java to see the magnificent Kawah Iljen volcano, but what they don't expect is to find the stunning turquoise-hued caldera lake at the volcano's summit. To add to the drama, the bright citrine-colored stones and billows of white gases surround the 1-kilometer-wide aquamarine lake in a spectacular show. One element is responsible for the entire striking scene: sulfur. The magma chamber below the volcano pours sulfuric gases into the lake. Combined with a high concentration of dissolved metals, the gases turn the water a brilliant shade of blue. They also register the lake as the world's largest highly acidic lake with a pH of 0.5. That same chamber blasts a continuous stream of sulfuric gas from lakeside fumaroles that swirl around the lake. When the gas condenses and falls to the ground, it dyes the lake's surrounding stones a shocking shade of electric yellow. Hydrogen chloride released from the volcano mixed with the lake and turned it into an acidic monstrosity that it is today. What makes this place even more stunning, especially at night, is shots of sulfuric gases that combust into glints of bright blue upon contact with the air. Intrepid travelers can join 3-hour hikes to the bank of the crater to experience the lake in person. Next is Hidden Beach, Mexico. It is a vacationer's dream, a secret beach tucked away from the masses, with shade and sun and pristine water. And as this dream comes true at Playa del Amor, more commonly known as Hidden Beach, one of the Marietta Islands off of the coast of Mexico. The unlikely source of this magical little secret: a bomb blast. Mexico began testing bombs in the uninhabited Marietta Islands in the early 1900s, resulting in a gaping hole in the surface of one of the islands. Over time, tides filled the hole with sand and water, creating a secluded, watery Eden where determined beach bums can swim, sunbathe, and kayak, largely out of sight. Playa del Amor, literally Lover's Beach, is invisible from the outside, but visitors can access it through a 20-meter-long tunnel that links the secluded beach to the ocean. Pink Lake Hillier, Australia. Fly over Western Australia for a rare visual treat. Nestled among dense emerald green woodlands, surrounded by deep blue of the Southern Ocean, are a series of lakes in a shocking shade of bubblegum pink. The most well-known is Lake Hillier, a 600-meter-long lake on the edge archipelago, my gosh, off Western Australia's south coast. Surrounded by a thin ring of sand and an expansive forest of paper bark and eucalyptus trees, the rosy pink lake punctuates a stunning landscape. But even more surprising than its Pepto-Bismol shade is that nobody seems to be able to explain its distinctive color. Possible causes include the presence of green algae that can accumulate high levels of beta-carotene, a red-orange pigment, Haloarchaea, a type of microorganism that appears reddish in large blooms, or a high concentration of pink brine prawn. Most tourists admire the chromatic splendor of Lake Hillier from a helicopter or a plane ride. For the on-the-ground visitors, there's an added treat. Lake Hillier is highly saline, but the water isn't toxic. So pack your swimsuit and go for a swim. Thanks to the high salinity, you will bob like a cork. The fairy circles of Namibia. Across the arid grasslands of the Nam Desert lies an eerie sight. Millions of circular patches of land, void of plants, each between 2 meters and 15 meters in diameter, arranged in a honeycomb-like pattern across the 2,500 kilometers of land. These discs of bare soil, known as fairy circles, pockmark the landscape in Namibia, as if giant moths ate through the vast carpets of the grassland. Adding to the mystery is that no one knows what causes these otherworldly formations, but there's no shortage of theories. Scientists have suggested radioactive soil or toxins that have released from the plants that kill vegetation in circular patterns. Others believe that these circles are the work of sand termites. To store water, they burrow in the soil in ring-like patterns and consume the roots of vegetation to allow the underlying grains of sand to absorb the falling rain. Another hypothesis ascribes the circles to competition for resources. In harsh landscapes, the plants compete for water and nutrients. As the weaker plants die and the stronger ones grow, vegetation self-organizes into an unusual pattern. Considering the eerie beauty of this phenomena, perhaps the most fitting theory is that of local bushmen, who say that the fairy circles are nothing less than the footprints of gods. Florida's colorful swamp. When oils released by decaying vegetation drift into the pooled water of the Sunshine State's wetlands, a rainbow-colored phenomena decorates the scenery. Florida's colorful swamp. The spots of oil slick reflect sunlight into the trees and bushes, making them look multi-hued and vibrant. The natural spectacle can appear in any swamp at any time of year, but it's rather notorious under a cloudless, sunny sky and when humidity is at its highest. Lunar rainbows. Much rarer than rainbows, but just as marvelous, moonbows or lunar rainbows can appear when the moon is in or near the full phase and positioned low in the sky, most likely an hour before sunrise or after sunset. As with rainbows, water droplets must be in the air from waterfalls or rain or breaking waves on the opposite side of the light-reflecting celestial body for the iridescent visual phenomenon to happen. I would love to see a moonbow. The Great Smoky Mountains lightning bugs are next. Sometime between the third week of May and the third week of June, the beetle species, officially known as Photinus carolinus, will enter its mating season in the Great Smoky Mountains. Male fireflies synchronize their flashing lights so females can recognize them. The spectacle put on by millions of lightning books and I read something about them like going extinct, and I was so devastated. Do you have lightning bugs where you are? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yellowstone's geysers. The attractions of Yellowstone Park have been in the making for over 500,000 years. Geysers, hot springs, fumaroles, and mud pots result from the interaction between underground volcanic activity and groundwater. The superheated water of hot springs, trapped in channels leading to the surface, erupts when the steam in the inner layers of the volcanic caldera where Yellowstone lays lifts the cooler waters into the upper layers, causing the flashy phenomena called geysers. The most famous performer of the geothermal show is Old Faithful, a highly predictable geyser that erupts every 45 to 100 minutes. Horsetail Falls in Yosemite. Every summer night for almost a century, burning hot embers were poured into Glacier Point in Yosemite National Park. Down the cliff to the valley below, the 3,000-foot drop of incandescent coal put on a magnificent show that attracted crowds to the park from 1872 to 1968. Nowadays, a natural spectacle evocative of the man-made fire has taken center stage. Horsetail Falls in Yosemite, an effervescent waterfall that sometimes during the last 2 weeks of February turns bright orange when backlit by sunsets gleam. Next is Thor's Well. An hour before high tide, the Oregon coast near Cape Perpetua seems peaceful and innocuous. As the minutes go by and the Pacific Ocean climbs closer to the shore, a 20-foot deep sinkhole known as Thor's Well begins to swallow the seawater. Not long after, the water overflows and starts erupting to heights of 25 feet. The water flowing and injecting through this slippery basalt rock cavity during the winter storms is a natural performance worthy of bearing the name of the mighty god of thunder. However, keep your distance. The phenomenon can be as dangerous as it is sensational. Another one on my bucket list, San Diego's bioluminescent shore. Neon blue glowing sparkles light up San Diego's beaches during the last weeks of summer. The eye-opening event occurs when microorganisms named dinoflagellates travel back and forth on ocean waves. Images of surfers, boaters, and even dolphins splashing through the glimmering water are all over the internet, but nothing beats the experience of seeing the bioluminescent shores with your own eyes. This occurrence is not exclusive to San Diego. It can be seen on several beaches along California's coastline. Next is the Singing Sands. The next two are at the same place. Singing Sands at the Great Sand Dunes National Park. The air pushing through the sand grains of an avalanche at the Great Sand Dunes National Park creates sounds similar to those made by certain birds or insects. The singing or booming sands usually occur during sand storms or when people push the sand down the dunes. Due to the various applications of this sound in song and ritual, it is a natural phenomenon that has attracted adventurers, artists, and mystics to the San Luis Valley in south central Colorado for decades. The next one is the petrified lightning at the Great Sand Dunes National Park. The sculptures made when dry sand is struck by lightning are called fulgurites, and even though they look like rocks, which gives them the nickname petrified lightning, they are truly glass tubes covered by burnt sand. The largest dunes in the United States, found in the Great Sand Dunes National Park, are the ideal place to find these whimsical pieces of natural art. However, if you ever find yourself in the desert during a thunderstorm, get away from the dunes immediately so you do not get struck. Overwintering monarchs in California. As autumn settles in, thousands sight that impresses spectators, especially the younger ones. You know how when you read a word and then you say it out loud and it doesn't sound like you think it should sound? That's what just happened to me. Pennsylvania's Singing Rocks. In a 123-acre park on the eastern border of Pennsylvania, where the Delaware River separates it from New Jersey, a field of boulder rocks rings like bells when hit with a hammer. Although the main course of the Ringing Rocks Park is the attraction to which it owes its name, the Riverside Forest is also an ideal destination for hiking, biking, and picnicking. To round up a trip on a different note, Bucks County, where the park is located, is home to several long-standing breweries, wineries, and distilleries. I have 3 more for you guys and then we're all done. Bioluminescent fungi in Appalachia, or Appalachia, depending on who you're talking to. Most of us are familiar with pixie dust, but have you heard about fairy fire? Deep in the woods of the Appalachian Mountains, a rare phenomenon takes place in the dark. Bioluminescent fungi illuminate the forest bed and decaying tree logs with a bright green glow. The state of brightness is caused by an oxidative enzyme called luciferase, which can be so potent that the radiance might remain visible even when fungi are taken out of the forest. Conditions for the mushrooms to light up are very particular, so you might only sometimes find foxfire, as it is also known. Nonetheless, there are better chances if you explore the southern Appalachians. Mother of pearl clouds in Alaska. Officially named polar stratospheric clouds, this natural event only happens when the temperature above the Arctic Circle falls below -114 degrees Fahrenheit, causing widely spaced water molecules to blend and form ice crystals in the otherwise dry stratosphere. High-altitude sun rays beam onto the ice, reflecting rainbow-hued light into the clouds. Since the only U.S. state that is part of the Arctic Circle is Alaska, it's the only one where you might be able to catch a glimpse of this mesmerizing color display. And last but not least is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania's Gravity Hill. Many claim that cars roll uphill when put on neutral at an apparently ordinary intersection in the Pittsburgh area. Though no scientific research has been conducted to confirm or deny this, plenty of videos of the incident exist on the internet. The location is known as Gravity Hill since the most agreed upon explanation for the phenomenon is a glitch in the planet's gravitational field. Thank you guys so much for joining me this evening. I will see you soon for another video. I hope that you enjoyed this one as much as I enjoyed researching it. I'm thinking about having Sean put pictures in so you guys can see this cool stuff and